Hi, I'm Gail Holliday coming to you from Corvallis, Oregon in the bountiful Willamette Valley. Welcome to my show, Valley Views, a forum for sharing relevant topics relating to people and issues in the Willamette region. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here today with my husband, Max Mania. He recently ran as an unaffiliated candidate for Benton County Commissioner and unfortunately lost. I operated as his campaign manager. Few actually put their bodies, reputation, and lives on the line by running for office. It's downright brutal, especially if you are not a party machine candidate. Years ago, Max was successful in his bid for Port Angeles City Council in Washington State, taking the good old boys in that former logging town by surprise. He displayed the kind of leadership that people talk about wanting in their elected officials. He spoke for the citizens, embraced and modeled transparency and fiscal responsibility, and was the lone elected official speaking up in opposition to the foreign multinational that owned the last mill in town, a corporation that ran Port Angeles. Max decided to offer his leadership and experience to Benton County, what we both thought could be a positive, game-changing event. I say game-changing because the exclusively Democratic leadership on the county commission during the past 20 years has led to Benton County having the worst income inequality in Oregon. So I'd like to welcome Max to the show.
Hello again.
Well, today I'd like to talk a bit about social media and the role it plays in a campaign.
Well, and the press in general. Well, here's a little story that might be helpful. If you're running for office, you're idealistic, you're energetic, you're concerned about the issues, informed, and ready to go. And so that's what I was, and I was also experienced as well, having held a public office, having done this before. And so when it's getting close to the primary being over here, which meant it was getting close to when I could turn my signatures in and become a legitimate candidate. And I got a call from the reporter at the new local paper here and saying he wanted to talk. So we got our phone appointment set. And here I'm thinking, because we're getting close to this new marker, the primary will be over, and so we're going to enter the general election campaign, and I'll be a candidate in that. And I'm thinking he's going to call me and ask about my plans, my platform, what I think about local politics. And we get on the phone, and the first thing he says to me is, well, so I've got your divorce papers here in front of me.
Uh-oh.
And so it's that kind of thing. You've got to be prepared for totally unnecessary nastiness. And again, the local paper here, the Gazette-Times, during the primary, did a gotcha piece on one of the Democratic candidates during the primary. Shocker here, folks, she had done drugs when she was a teenager.
Or bought them.
Yeah, she was in possession of some drugs when she was 18, which was over 30 years ago.
Yeah, on the other coast.
And they did this front page like expose style thing. It's just, it has nothing to do with what she is now.
It was brutal.
And it's like, yeah, I had a divorce. It was unpleasant. Would rather not have gone through it, but people go through divorces, and the fact that the press is going to focus on stuff like that, it's unfortunate.
Sells papers.
And, social media is just something that's even worse. It's poison. It's gossip. People think about it as, a way to stay informed or in touch, but boy, you've got to be prepared for the negative echo chamber that it represents in a campaign. On one hand, yes, you can be out there and you can get out there, but on the other hand, it is ideal for spreading lies, disinformation, smears, because it's there 24 hours a day. No one is moderating it. It's a nightmare. Yeah,
and I'm just going to insert here, Max and I are not Facebookers.
No, we don't like social media.
We don't deal with social media. We don't like it. We don't have it.
Again, it's one of these things in a campaign that you can't ignore it. You probably do need to engage it, but you also have to be prepared for it to be anything good it can bring to you. It can bring an equal amount or a larger amount of negativity. It's very complicated in my case, but to sum it up, again, having been an elected official in Washington State and having stood up against this multinational corporation that owned the mill, that basically ran the town, when they wanted to do something that I believed would harm the health and environment of the community, and I stood up and said no.
Yes.
Ironically, that mill is now closed and gone. When you challenge the status quo, I challenged the status quo in Port Angeles and stood up to this corporation, which brought a lot of negative attention towards me. There were trolls, there were right-wingers, people very invested in the mill and that identity of the town who have harassed me ever since. I mean, I've left the state, and they are still harassing me. And they inserted themselves into social media here. When they learned that I was running, they got busy. They started this negative echo chamber, this horrible rumor mongering. I still don't know the parameters of it, but it was impossible to miss after a certain point. I am not someone who naturally engages in social media. I had people who put a Facebook page together for me. I'm very grateful for that. It was necessary
For the campaign.
Social media is something that people. It's not rational. And again, this is what I was talking about. It's like you're talking about an emotional approach to something where, in theory, you want to be rational, which is electing an official to shepherd a budget that represents your values.
Yes. What resulted is that people looking at social media, they see words versus seeing the real person, you, someone they've known for years, worked with, supported.
And so people who've known you, people you've worked beside, volunteered beside for years.
Broken bread with them.
People, yes, you've broken bread, been to their house, had them to your house, called them friends, consider them friends. Yet, in our new, exciting, modern world of living our lives online, something that someone on a Facebook page says can carry more weight than knowing you. And I had so many cases of people who I know had heard negative things about me, most of which were totally false, but they never asked. They went with whatever they heard on Facebook.
Yes.
They never asked me. I knew this was out there, and I actively engaged people saying, if you're hearing stuff, if you have concerns, contact me. Literally, one person did, and that was after a great deal of sort of badgering people saying, hey, when you're hearing stuff, ask me about it. Don't just believe it or don't just pass it on. And then I was also in the position where I don't like social media because I think it's gossip. I think it can be very poisonous.
Yes.
But then I had someone I considered a friend who was on social media saying how suspicious it was that I wasn't. He's on there spreading lies about me and then saying it's suspicious I'm not on there. I'm trying to avoid answering for these things when in fact it's like, no, I don't like being on there because the very thing you're doing, which is just spreading misinformation without checking with the source in the first place. It's really poisonous, but you've got to be able to navigate it or just negate it somehow if you're a candidate, because the first thing that happens when you run for office, no matter where, no matter what office, no matter if it's a contested race or not, you put a target on yourself. Someone is not going to like who you are, what you represent, and sometimes it's a major party that's coming after you. In my case, I had a multinational corporation out of Japan coming for me, and that will have repercussions for your campaign and possibly for your life.
Yes.
Again, the fact that I said no to the Nippon Corporation.
Right.
And that was about 10 years ago, and it still has repercussions for my life today. So
Absolutely.
You have to be prepared for these things.
And I did notice too, the social media, the attacking social media cranked up after what I assume the Democratic Party and whatever powers it be noticed that you've got something on the ball. It's after the forums started.
Right, and after I'd gotten these endorsements that the Democrats clearly were anticipating getting for their candidate. But again, it's hard when your candidate doesn't show up. When the Our Revolution folks here, the Bernie folks, they held a forum for county commissioner candidates to determine who they'd endorse, and the Democratic candidate didn't show up. And expected to get endorsed. Well, he didn't. I did. And the same thing happened with the Democratic Socialists. The same thing happened with the union endorsement I got. And so, at a certain point, they woke up and said, we've got a problem.
Right.
And that's when it happened. You felt a
there was a shift
in the force.
Yes.
If you're going to run for office, there's a book I'm just finishing reading now, and I would really recommend it. It's called Who Can You Trust? How Technology Brought Us Together and Why It Might Drive Us Apart. It's something that I would recommend anyone running for office read. It's called Who Can You Trust by Rachel Botsman. It just gets into this whole idea of we've gone from a culture where we had local trust to institutional trust, things like the police and schools and the government, to now we have something she calls distributed trust, and that is social media. Someone online you may have never seen or met, who may not even exist, has more value to you in shaping your trust than someone you may know, someone who may literally live next to you. To me, it's creepy. and very disturbing. This is how elections are run and decisions are made. So when people see these politics that are so poison, think about the role social media plays in that. And now the press was definitely a negative experience here too, but for good or for bad, the traditional press is dying.
Yes.
Just since we've lived here, we've seen our local paper literally physically shrink. Social media, love it or not, is the new media. You've got to be able to navigate that. And for me, that was something that I was not prepared for. Mm-hmm. That's not who I am.
Yeah, we deal in reality.
Yeah, I was great in the forums and face-to-face.
Absolutely.
All that sort of thing. You ask me a question, I've got it. If you're wanting me to just be posting stuff 16 times a day to show that I care, that's not who I am. And I'm not concerned about my online reputation as much as I guess I should have been. I'm more concerned with the actual physical nuts and bolts, the moving parts, not just it's a difference between the rational reasoning part of you that is going to be expected to work on a budget, say, versus the emotional experience of, a cute picture of a puppy. Mm-hmm. Oh, here he is volunteering somewhere. Here's a picture of him doing something I can identify with. Well, you're electing people to do things you don't identify with, because how many of you want to go work on a budget? And that's the ironic thing. Like I said, for me, it is a very rational, reasoned thing to do. I've tried to be sort of a Vulcan about it. It's like, this is the logical thing to do. But it was also a hugely emotional experience, because you're asking people for time, for money, to volunteer, but the thing that you're really asking them to invest in you is trust and hope. As someone who is kind of cynical and who's an introvert, I really value those. I understand that the people don't, or at least shouldn't, give those lightly, and that's a big burden. So you got to be ready. You got to be prepared for the emotional side of it, because that's huge, huge. And there's a lot of peaks and valleys. You'll have great days and you'll have lousy days.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I take from it is it saddens me, because here we are back in the two-party system again. I don't see this country getting out of this two-party system.
No. Again, these systems exist to perpetuate themselves. Yeah. And you see that enacted in every way, every level.
Exactly.
Voter suppression on the right, and the silencing of progressive voices, and minimizing of progressive ideals on the left.
And working to get Democrats into the seats is not working.
Oh, no. To me, the best thing we could have here is something that explodes the two-party system. And that doesn't just mean a three-party system. That means a multi-party system, because that forces people to work together.
Yes,
if no one's got a clear majority, and that's how you get stuff done.
Yeah,
that's what I did even on the local level. City council, a small town of 20,000 people, that's how you get things done. A country of 400 million people, that should be how we get things done. That way we're not pushed towards trying to build walls, either literally or metaphorically.
Like a parliamentarian system that they have.
Right. You've got 30%, you got 10%,
yes.
We got 12%. We all got to work together.
Well, Max, I want to thank you so much for being here. I know the both of us have been down this road, and there's so much more that I know that you could share, just to give people a taste of what this was all about. I hope we'll help some folks and some insights into what it really means to campaign and run for an elected office.
Right. If I could leave people with just one thing, whether you're on the right or the left, don't invest in the two-party system. Work hard to create something better.
I like it.
That's the only way we have hope for actual change.
Yeah. Don't
believe the lies from either side. They exist to perpetuate themselves.
Well said. Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Dale.
You've been listening to Valley Views. I'm your host, Dale Holliday, and I'd love to hear from you. Comments, questions, ideas for future topics, or other matters you would like explored. Email me at valleyviews@kboo.org. That's VALLEYVIEWS@kboo.org. Special thanks to Chad Howard from Corvallis Access Media for his technical assistance and support. I look forward to being with you again next time. And remember, as Doctor Who once said, I'm not in charge, but I'm full of ideas. Bye!